Welcome to SandCity Sports. I am your host, the Cape Cod Kid, artist formerly known as Andre King, and we are back again to bring you all the sports and current events news stories that you need to know. We are pleased, we are thrilled, we are ecstatic to have our homeboy Drew Pops back in the building.
It's good to be back.
The man left the continent. The man left the greater 48. He had to go over to Europe. He was in Paris at the same time of the Women's World Cup.
I got a little piece of that.
A little piece of that action. You know, but also for the scenery, you know, for the culture, for the adventure. So that was an outstanding trip. But he made sure, folks, to be back for the 4th of July.
Back, baby. He had
to be back for 4th of July.
No place like home.
Indeed, indeed. So he was here, and it seemed like all of America was on the Cape. It seemed like, you know, we went from a couple 100,000 to, you know, to maybe a few million. It was a good 4th of July weekend here on the Cape. We hope you guys had a great 4th of July weekend, you know, out there in YouTube land. And so that was all good and well. But folks, we're going to get right down to business, okay? Because the NBA has had another. We had another earthquake.
Yeah.
We had another hurricane. We had another extinction level event, if you will, with Kawhi Leonard last Friday evening, late in the night, okay, past midnight, deciding to take his talents to the LA Clippers along with Mr. Paul George and completely reshape the NBA map. How do you feel about this, Drew?
I didn't see the Paul George thing coming, which is, I mean, it's nuts. That, yeah, seismic, you know, waves across the NBA.
Indeed, it was title.
I don't know how they convinced OKC to do it, but they somehow did. Paul George said, hey, he probably said, you know, I want to do this. I'm either going to not play or just it's in your best interest to let me go, whatever. But, I mean, they got a great haul of picks. Indeed. And I think that they're doing something that everyone was doing with the Warriors the past few years. They're like, you know, we got talent, but we're not going to beat, you know, 6 of these teams. So why don't we sit back? We'll be the first ones to have the best rebuild. And maybe when all the dust clears in a few years, you know, we'll be the ones who are the top dogs, have the best odds. So, I mean, it's a different approach. If I'm an OKC fan, I might be a little disappointed for a couple of years, but I got a long life to live, I hope. So, I mean, maybe in a couple of years, they're the new dynasty.
Indeed. For me, this is a grand slam for both teams. To start out, you know, within sports circles, NBA circles in particular, they say that real trades happen in silence.
Yeah.
You know,
you didn't hear anything about that.
Real trades, you know, happen in silence. You know, there's some references that you can make, you know, to the hip hop culture and so on and forth. But what Jerry West did here, and I'm going to just say this right now. Jerry West is the greatest executive in basketball history. He might be the greatest executive in sports history in terms of how many major deals he has pulled off. It was Jerry West that convinced Kevin Durant, in large part, in my opinion, to go to Golden State. It was Jerry West that obviously drafted Kobe Bryant, recruited Shaquille O'Neal. It was Jerry West that convinced a man named Lou Alcindor, okay, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to leave Milwaukee and come to the LA Lakers. Okay, this is many generations ago, but it was also Jerry West that drafted a kid from Lansing, Michigan, named Irvin. You might know him as Magic. Irvin Magic Johnson.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, you might have heard of him.
Yeah, I think I've heard of him.
And also Jerry West drafted a guy named James Worthy. Okay, so the Jerry, you know, just so we'll start there. The man's greatness has to be recognized off the top. Now, in terms of this Paul George deal, there was reports that Kawhi met with the Lakers. I forget which day it was, you know, in the midst of his free agency. Yeah. They were the clear-cut favorite. But now the report is after he met with the Lakers, he had a second meeting with Paul George, okay, as all of this things were spiraling. Did you guys hear about that out there in YouTube land? Did you hear about that?
I heard some rumblings. Yeah, you never know.
Okay, I didn't hear about that. Okay,
they kept it tight-lipped. I don't know how they did.
This is airtight. This is you know the nuclear reactors that they have hidden in the mountain, you know, out there in Colorado. I think that's where this information was held.
Yeah, in this day and age, you can't hide anything like that. You know, with the internet, this and that, and didn't hear, you know.
And so the Paul George angle that you allude to, first, to convince Paul George to leave Oklahoma City after he signed a 4-year deal, and if you recall last summer, we thought Paul George was headed to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Last summer. He's a California kid. Okay, I can relate to that. Being a Cape Cod. Being a Cape Cod. So he's a California guy.
The Cape Cod.
The Cape Cod kid. Okay, so he's from California. Had the chance to go to the Lakers last year. Play with the one Mr. LeBron James. Tinseltown. The purple and gold. What did he say, Drew?
I think people don't want to be LeBron James's, his whipping boy. I think that a lot of people want to carve their own way. I mean, Kawhi, he just won the NBA Finals,
True.
But they could go and pave their own legacy together. I think that a lot of these stars, they don't want to go to be around LeBron because they don't want all the credit, going to him, and they don't want to be, known as the second whatever. Him and Kawhi in LA, they're both pretty similar players, both great defensive players and offensive players.
Two-way players,
indeed. That is scary. That is scary.
Quite scary. And then just in terms of, again, when did Paul George, how did this happen? How did the dominoes fall to convince Paul George to leave Oklahoma City after he signed an extension? And, he already rejected LA once. So that to me says, it goes to obviously the Clippers, their organization, the leadership, the culture has something to offer. To your point, that people are quite skeptical with in terms of the Lakers. So to convince Paul George is monumental. But then at the same time, Anthony Davis wanted to go to the Lakers at mid-season.
Right.
And the Lakers, they had a Godfather offer, and that deal went nowhere.
Right.
And so now, when you have the interest, from both parties, that doesn't mean much. You have to get the deal done. How you doing, Ivan? We got to say hello to Ivan. You're in the studio. We got great people here. And when they walk in, we recognize them. Ivan does a great job at the Cape Cod Media Center, and we're thankful to Amar as well back there in the studio, making this production happen. If it has to be, Cape Cod Media Center is a great place, and we appreciate a tremendous amount, all the outstanding people here that help us and make and allow us to get this done. Now, okay, in terms of the Paul George business, again, so they convinced him that this was a good option, after he signed the long extension in Oklahoma City.
What did OKC do this offseason? You didn't hear one thing. There was not much they could do.
There's not much they could have done, but I want to get to them in terms of why this deal, to me, was a grand slam for both teams. Okay, so Paul George wants to be in LA, okay, but again, he's under contract for 4 years, and he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the MVP. He was top 3 for MVP. So what is it going to take to get Oklahoma City to sign on, to get on board with this deal? Okay, you need a Godfather offer.
Every pick under the sun.
You need a Godfather.
They could possibly offer.
And in order for a Godfather offer to be levied, you need a Godfather.
That's true.
And that Godfather is one Mr. Jerry West.
Yep.
Okay, getting this thing done. 5 first-round picks.
It's a lot. It's a good haul. That's like a Nets. That's like a Boston Nets type trade haul.
This is almost like LeBron when he went to Miami. We're not talking 1. We're not talking 2. 5 first-round picks.
And they're going to get plenty more for Westbrook.
That's a generation of picks. And by the way, Sam Presti, there was this kid that went to Arizona State. I don't know if you know, Arizona State has a basketball program. We all know about the University of Arizona.
Demon Deacons, right?
The Sun Devils. The
Sun Devils.
The Demon Deacons, that's Wake Forest.
Okay, that's completely, that's
okay.
nonsense.
It's okay.
Scratch that.
Shout out to Skip Prosner, great coach at Wake Forest. Tim Duncan, Chris Paul, gone way too soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the, Wake Forest definitely, in the ACC and, on the Tobacco Road. My point is, we didn't know that Arizona State had a basketball program until very recently when Bobby Hurley Jr. Restored them, and made them into what they are. But James Harden was at Arizona State University, quite unheralded, and I believe Sam Presti drafted him with the 3rd overall pick.
Yep.
There was this point guard from UCLA. He played with guys named Kevin Love and Darren Collison, but he wasn't necessarily the headliner on that team.
No.
Sam Presti drafted him with the 4th overall pick. And then there was this kid from the Maryland area, had himself quite a year at Texas, and for some reason, he or the Portland Trailblazers and everybody else, missed on him, and so he was still available with the number 2 pick. But that was also another Sam Presti a draftee. So his ability to to find talent. I'm forgetting the word. To kind of focus in, on talent and lock in on that talent and draft. Is second to none in my opinion.
He's got the eyes. He's a great scout, clearly.
Like Denzel said in training, that he might have that magic eye.
Yeah.
That Hoyt had. He has the magic eye, and so for him to get 5 first-round picks, and that's not all true.
Now it looks like wherever Westbrook goes, who knows? I mean, there's no way they keep him because they would just be. They're clearly tanking, and they should. I mean, what's the point of keeping him around?
Sure.
Get all the stuff you can get for all. They traded Jeremy Grant yesterday.
I didn't see that.
They traded Jeremy Grant to Denver for a first-round pick. So now you have another first-round pick.
He's a good player.
Jeremy Grant. I think he was definitely in the running for most improved player last year.
A great 3-and-D guy.
Yeah, he's nasty.
Yeah,
and I like the Denver Nuggets, and that's a great pickup for them. What do they have to give? A first-round pick? They're not. They don't need that.
Denver's
They're young enough
team,
as it is.
Speaking of stockpiling talent, Denver's done with Michael Porter Jr. They said he was healthy. He had a minor knee injury. We hope it's minor, but if he can come back healthy,
as long as his back is all right, that's the problem. If his back is good.
He was a top 5 kid.
Could be a huge steal.
And then also they get Bol in the second round, who they can store away. So Denver,
just like Pops, in Denver.
They had number 2 overall seed, loaded with talent, but what they've done in terms of, basically their farm team is outstanding. But folks, we're not done talking about this Clippers Oklahoma City deal, because they also got one Mr. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a 6'7" rookie point guard last year, who Cape Cod Kid believes is made in that Penny Hardaway mold.
Yeah, good shooter. He's a beast.
When they went to the playoffs in the first round against Golden State, I don't think he was intimidated. Okay, I think he had a 20-point game. I think he had a couple good games.
He's nice.
So he is and is going to continue to grow and become an NBA stalwart, star, possibly also, and also Danilo Gallinari, who's a very serviceable veteran. Player,
great Italian players.
Great, and who can get it done, who can give you 15 points, 8, 9, 10 rebounds, a couple assists, good all-around player, a great teammate, and so if you are building, a new culture, if you're going to establish something new, not only did they have, the NBA draft locked up, for the next, 3-4 seasons, but they also got 2 players that they can insert immediately under the very capable leadership of Billy Donovan, and still continue while they are, my point is, I like that they're not tanking in a sense of just giving up on the season. They're not going to make the playoffs, and they're going for those top lottery spots. Shout out to Adam Silver and a good job that he did renovating the NBA draft in terms of the last 3 teams having an equal shot. But they're still going to be a hard-working, blue-collar team that's going to compete every night and give the people, the fans, the season ticket holders, what they paid for. And this is what we were lacking, by the way, here in Boston. Okay, so that's the one Grand Slam. We have to look at this other Grand Slam that Drew alluded to in terms of the LA Clippers, who are now, according to Las Vegas, the favorites to win the NBA championship.
I think it's 3-1.
Okay. Drew, why are they the favorites to win the NBA championship this year?
I mean, Kawhi Leonard could prove that he could go to Toronto, who couldn't get it done, and then he goes and he gets it done.
Indeed.
And it's not like the Clippers it's not like they don't have much around them in terms of, so you get Paul George and you get Kawhi Leonard.
True.
That's great, but some teams, I mean, you could have just those 2 and then your bench is kind of questionable, and that wouldn't be, maybe it'd be enough, maybe not.
Right.
But they got a young team in Montrezl Harrell, who's a beast. I wish Danny Ainge drafted him because we passed up on him. Beast. He's an absolute board gobbler.
That's right.
And then you have Landry Shamet that you got from Philly, who's just a great young little gritty shooter. They just have a bunch of...
He's tough.
He's tough. They got a bunch of stuff over there. Complementary players to Kawhi and Paul George. They look scary, absolutely scary.
True, they got somebody coming off the bench too.
Sorry, the sixth man of the year,
Yeah.
Lou Will.
You
got one of the best, I think, an all NBA defender in Pat Beverly. Was he all NBA?
Yes.
If he's not, he should be.
He should be.
Look at all the accolades on that team without Kawhi or Paul George.
Yes.
Then you add 2 superstars to an already team that was seemed like they were overachieving in the playoffs, taking some games off the Warriors.
They took 2 off the Warriors.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like the team was that bad to begin with. You didn't really lose that much. A bunch of first-round picks doesn't change anything now.
That doesn't affect the current roster.
So who cares? absolutely like unreal trade by them. The fact that they were able to get this done. One of the not a fleecing because it is good for both teams, but just to already be good and to not hemorrhage too many assets in terms of your success now, and to be able to add 2 superstar caliber players like that are both two-way players. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. If you're a Clippers fan, you are ecstatic. If you're living in LA, you might take you might take the Lakers jersey off. You might switch jerseys. I don't know. There's a lot of fair weather fans out there.
True. They
I
might have to join Billy Crystal and Marcellus Wiley.
Yeah.
You know, and a one Mr. Derek D. Thompson. You know.
Yeah, just like the Knicks fans.
You know,
maybe they'll go over to Brooklyn.
That's right.
Because I don't know. I mean, that's the way it goes sometimes. Not Boston.
Shout out to D. Tomp, you know, who's a Cape Cod, legend, you know, here in Barnstable, you know, a BHS graduate, you know, and a lifelong Clippers fan, you know, through the highs and the lows, you know, but somebody who might be having, you know, quite a few friends, you know, now.
Yeah, everyone's going to be giving him a call.
You know, now that they're the favorites to win the NBA championship. But then also, in terms of the Clippers, you know, and we touched on it a little bit in terms of Jerry West. Shout out to Steve Ballmer, richest owner in team sports, who is not afraid to put those resources to good use. You know, who really, in many respects, stole Jerry West away from the Golden State Warriors in terms of paying that top dollar to get this man into his organization. You know, he took a team that, you know, had really reached its potential and wasn't going any further. The team with Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Jordan. And in under 3 years, you know, after that acquisition, where are the Clippers now in terms of, you know, under Jerry West's leadership? And Doc Rivers is an outstanding coach, okay? Very skilled, respected, versatile in terms of what he's able to do, and then Lawrence Frank as their president of basketball operations. So this is an organization, you know, that is built, you know, not only for the present tense, but I feel built for the future, you know, in terms of the piece that they have on and off the court. So this is just absolutely tremendous for the NBA. Now, you know, do we have any super teams in the NBA, or now do we have?
They're like all super teams.
Do we have parity? You know,
it's a lot more even, which is great. But I mean, as a season ticket holder, I think it's just great. It's great for me. It's great for all these teams because all the teams changing around. I mean, last year I'm looking at my schedule. There's only so many, you know, marquee games. People want to see Golden State. People want to see the Lakers game, no matter what. Now you got all these different storylines and narratives changing. I mean, there's like, I'm going to look at that schedule and be like, okay, I want to go to that one, I want to go to that one, I want to go to that one. I mean, you could go all the way down. Every game now is like, with all the story, you got Horford in Philly now. You got all these different teams forming it's crazy. But it's good for the NBA. It's a lot more even keel, almost like the NHL is, where now we're to the point where there's like 12 teams that could get the job done. There's like maybe even 15. I mean, even though the Clippers are the favorite and they're going to be tough to beat, I think the East is really wide open. I think that the West it's the West. It's got just as competitive, if not more so, with this. But there's 12, 15 teams that get the chip. It's good for the NBA because the whole Golden State for 4 or 5 years every year, almost a guarantee. It's good for everybody.
And that's been really the universal response in terms of the restoration of competitive balance. And Drew, you brought up an outstanding point in terms of if you're a season ticket holder, you know, now, and you look at this schedule and all of these teams that are in contention, that have superstars, that have young up-and-coming players, you know, the league, even if you're looking at teams like, you know, the Phoenix Suns, who have DeAndre Ayton, like the Dallas Mavericks, who have Luka Doncic, like the New Orleans Pelicans, who have Zion Williamson, like the Atlanta Hawks, who have Trae Young, you know, even Cleveland, you know, with Colin Sexton, they just drafted Garland, you know.
Yep.
So even the teams that aren't in the playoffs have young up-and-coming players, you know, that are going to be stars, you know, in a couple years. And so that is just great for basketball fanatics, you know, and just even more so great for the casual basketball fan that gets to appreciate, you know, this abundance of talent really now spread out, you know, so much along the league. So that is phenomenal. Now, with the NBA free agency and, the absolute bonanza that it is for the game of basketball, shout out to David Stern, and his leadership in terms of bringing the NBA back, and shout out to Adam Silver on this point. We're going to touch on some things later, in terms of continuing that vision. But, the NBA is dominating this summer.
Yeah.
And you got people that say, free agency is as exciting, if not more exciting, than the actual regular season. Now, Hoops fans like ourselves, again, Drew Pops is in the building in Beantown, making that trip from Cape Cod consistently, for a good amount of those 41 home games.
Can't wait.
So we're gonna subscribe and follow, year round, just on basic principle. But for the casual fans and for people that just like sports, that model that the NBA has really been at the forefront of, and now is really the envy of all these other leagues. You look at the NFL reaching out to Adam Silver in terms of possibly becoming their commissioner. It's because of this framework that's been created. So that's something that's great for basketball in particular, but then for all sports, to look at and learn from. Player empowerment, player freedom, which owners fought against for so many years. Come to find out, it can work. Outstanding for everybody.
Yeah, everybody wins.
And
balance has been restored to the force.
Indeed, very much so. So as these dominoes continue to fall, now all of a sudden you have another All NBA, MVP level player in Russell Westbrook. That's now on the market. Because he's heading out of OKC. So where do you think Mr. Westbrook, where do you think his destination, could be or is likely to be?
When we first heard all the rumblings that he would be going to Miami, and
which
I could see him wanting to go to Miami because it's Miami, and he's got Jimmy Buckets over there.
Yep.
So that could be a good fit, and they don't have a bad bench either. They have some good little pieces there. Then there's the T-Wolves talk, and they have a good little. I think he would rather be. He's always in his crazy outfits. I could see him fitting in Miami a lot better than Minnesota, just culturally.
Yes, indeed.
But, he is a gritty grinder, and he wants to win. And it's not like Minnesota doesn't have good assets, over there. Him and Cat, and him and Cat could be pretty fun to watch together.
Still have Jeff Teague.
Still have Jeff Teague. They would maybe have to give up Wiggins. But either one of those teams, I could see him having success. He's the type of player that he's going to have success no matter where he goes. He's a like one-man team almost. So we'll see. It's one of you could see a random person come out left field, just like with almost all these signings, all free agency. It's been just like, oh, no one saw that coming. No one saw this coming. He could go to some, who saw Al Horford going to Philly?
Exactly.
All these surprise, suitors out there that. We'll see. I'm going to say Miami. I think he's going to go to Miami, but it very well could be, a bunch of different teams trying to add that other star to put themselves in the mix with these other 12 teams that did it this offseason.
Yes. Now, because of the way that free agency is structured, this is another very interesting narrative because most of the teams have committed their money for the upcoming season. Kawhi taking the amount of time that he did and the majority of the deals getting done, in the first day or two, means that, I would love to see Westbrook in Miami because culturally and competitively, he fits that team. It was mentioned before, it was talked about in the last episode. Pat Riley, another NBA luminary, first ballot Hall of Famer. If he's not already in the Hall of Fame, he does not tank. This is a first-class organization that he's built from the ground up, and he does not tank. And if they are having a losing season, they are going to compete every single night. I respect that, to the mountaintops, just on in and of itself.
Finds a way.
Yes.
Go out, get it done, stay relevant.
Yes. And along with that, Pat Riley is about that life. Pat Riley means business.
He's about that winning life, basketball life.
If you're a LeBron James, if you're a Dwayne Wade, if you're a Shaquille, it doesn't matter who you are, Pat Riley is. You're going when you come into this organization, that it's time to work and it's time to get the job done, and there's not going to be any foolishness. And he has that type of, Vince Lombardi or just name a great coach, Greg Popovich, Bill Bell. He gets he has the utmost respect for the players, and he gets the most out of his players. And Russell Westbrook is a player, okay, that comes to work every night, that has a junkyard dog mentality, okay, that, puts it all out there 100%. And so for Russell Westbrook to come up under Pat Riley's leadership along with Jimmy Butler, okay, for a team that was doing it the right way, okay, and then now has a chance to get 2 All-NBA players on the same team and be competitive and be relevant, and be not necessarily championship contenders, but a tough out in the playoff.
In the mix, yeah.
I would love to see that happen. Now, again, a lot of things have to, because most of the money's already been committed, so there's additional hoops that have to be jumped through, but I would love to see that. I would love to see possibly Russell Westbrook going to the Big Apple. I'm talking about Madison Square Garden. I'm talking about the New York Knicks, okay? If he had an interest and they could make the numbers work to partner Russell Westbrook with a RJ Barrett, who's going to be a player, with a Dennis Smith Jr., who's going to be a player, with their center, whose name eludes me now, we'll get to it, who's a great energy guy.
Mitchell Robinson.
Yes, Mitchell Robinson.
He's a beast.
They still have Frank Ntilikina, who they might have to make a decision on, but Russell Westbrook, his mentality in the Big Apple, that would be, again, a home run.
This whole fashion and all the crazy stuff
all
he
the
wears.
things
Imagine
that
that
he
in
likes
New
to do,
York.
Madison Avenue, and then just, he's a junkyard dog. I'll say it again and again and again, but that's what New Yorkers, and people here in the Northeast that love sports, would resonate with them immediately, and again, even if even if you lose, but you lose the right way, I think it would be overwhelmingly appreciated, respected, and just kind of, again, galvanize that organization. The Timberwolves storyline is interesting, but we kind of have to tie that because the reports are the Timberwolves are in talks with the Golden State Warriors for one Mr. D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell was rumored to be leaving Brooklyn to go to the Timberwolves. Didn't happen. We were all kind of shocked. They ended up going to Golden State, but now there is the backstory that Golden State pulled off that deal to use D'Angelo Russell, as a piece, basically, in order to partner him or to trade him to Minnesota and possibly get Andrew Wiggins, a very talented and yet inconsistent player, into their organization. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
It's just crazy how these GMs can. I mean, what a whirlwind of emotion just as a fan. As a Celtics fan, a week ago I'm thinking, we're not rebuilding. We have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but it was like a mini rebuild. And then they go out and they splash on their biggest deal ever on Kemba Walker. True. They bring in Enes Kanter, which I love. But it's just crazy how these GMs, when you thought that it was completely impossible, they go out and they have so many different avenues of, getting another team involved or shedding, like the Celtics getting rid of Terry Rozier in a sign and trade that saved $5 million.
Right.
All these little things that the GMs can do to save $5 million here, $10 million there, whatever. All of that contributes to the big picture.
Right.
And if one of these has the vision, one of these GMs has the vision, and they think that there's a way they'll find a way. And it's the genius of some of these GMs it's absolutely insane.
The cards that can be played, the strings that are being pulled. It is fascinating and mind-boggling. I do like D'Angelo going to the Timberwolves because he appears to have a good relationship with Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
And you kind of partner those two young players that they get along together. And Andrew Wiggins, who I was very hopeful for, being a Timberwolves fan when they were up under the good leadership of one Mr. Tom Thibodeau. But he's there's no more. It's basically done in Minnesota.
You can get someone to take that contract.
Yeah, and then Minnesota, this was a guy, the owner was skeptical about giving him the contract, and Andrew Wiggins, did just enough to get, and he, was set on getting the max money, but then, he goes out and doesn't give max effort.
He doesn't look like he's working too hard.
No, and so that is just infuriating, just in and of itself, never mind if you're a Timberwolves fan. But for whatever reason, number one overall pick, kid is exceedingly talented. But he's been inconsistent his whole career, and maybe possibly if he comes into Golden State in that culture under the mentorship of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, you can kind of get the best out of him. He reminds me a lot of Harrison Barnes, who was a phenom as well, coming out of high school. But Harrison Barnes, he's earned, the $80 million contract that, he had to work for that.
Yep.
And so his consistency and effort was never in question. He was a part of building the Golden State Warriors that we know of today.
Yep.
So I think they see in Wiggins, a player of that capability that if he, if somehow they're able to kind of get through to him, then they could basically have reformed that original core, that core four, that built up the dynasty, which would be absolutely another fascinating storyline. Now you touched on the Celtics, and we have to touch on the Celtics, and we need because me, at first I wasn't thrilled about the Kemba Walker signing. Okay, let me get my English right here. Let me get my English right as the show goes on. We gotta stay correct. Okay. Nonetheless, the more and more I look at it, the more and more excited and encouraged I am for a number of reasons. First off, Kemba Walker did not insist on the max deal. Okay, he could have gotten the max because he was All-NBA first team. He was up for $220 million over 5 years. But he said from the start, even in Charlotte, I am willing to take a little bit less. Now listen, folks, quick aside here, but the situation that the Houston Rockets are in right now, and the reason that they have absolutely zero flexibility is because Chris Paul did the exact opposite and demanded the max, okay? And so now he is due $44 million in the last year of his contract when he's 37. He's due $41 million in 2021 when he's 36, and he's due $38 million this year. Okay, so all the moves that Daryl Morey is trying to do, okay, in terms of throwing Clint Capella out there, so on and forth, is to try to partner that deal with Chris Paul, and all other 29 NBA teams are saying absolutely not.
We're not doing it.
Never. Okay, and when you look at a situation like what happened in Brooklyn with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving both taking less, in order for their homeboy DeAndre Jordan, okay, to come on board, you see. When the stars are reasonable in terms of negotiation, in terms of what it takes for an entire team, to be formed that can compete for a championship. There's a guy in the Patriots that was known to have done this.
I think it's Tom.
Tom
Brizzle.
Tom Brizzle.
Tom Brady.
Tom Terrific.
The greatest quarterback of all time.
Great quarterback of all time.
No disputing.
Okay. And the reason, that statement can be made firmly, is because of those championships, which directly correlate to his taking less all these years. Okay, what does that do with Kemba Walker? You already know. Okay, that's how he started. Okay, after this whole Kyrie Irving debacle, coming to Boston. Okay, and so that was incredibly reassuring to me. Never mind the fact that, by all reports, this man is a junkyard dog. Played all 82 games last year.
So, I mean, that's like you never see that.
All of them. Okay, so he has the durability. Okay, but then on top of that, he's known to be a great teammate.
The opposite of Kyrie Irving, apparently, because he seems to be a pretty terrible teammate.
Yeah.
From what I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt many a time, and he made me look stupid, and I don't like being made to look stupid. So Kyrie Irving,
That's right.
You're dead to me. You're dead to me. Atrocious.
As it was
Go
said,
to Brooklyn. Goodbye.
We don't like to look foolish for sure. And Kyrie made a lot of people, myself included. I was, thought the Celtics were going to win 72 games, 73 games, break a record last year, and that obviously didn't happen. But so Kemba Walker and his commitment to the process, and then the talent that's around that he is going to make Jason Tatum better. He's going to make Jaylen Brown better. He's going to connect with and make Gordon Hayward better. Yeah, and by the way, we forgot, second year back after the injury, we're going to see the Gordon Hayward who was an all-star in the Western Conference before he got there, except the fact that he's playing in the Eastern Conference. When a Western Conference all-star comes to the Eastern Conference and maybe goes to a team like Toronto, how does that work out? So we have a Western Conference all-star now on the Celtics, in an East that, is very top heavy, okay? So that's a very good sign. I'm a big fan of and think that Robert Williams is going to be a good player. I've mentioned it. I'll continue to mention. I think he's a DeAndre Jordan type. And what Robert Williams does for you defensively, and we're going to turn it over to the guy that's in the building all the time. I don't want to, because this is the Celtics man right here. You respect it and, knows the players, the whole landscape. But what Robert Williams is incredibly important because Enes Kanter is not known to be a great defender. Nor does he
rebounder.
No, does he need to be. Okay, because you have Robert Williams that you can put those two together.
Yeah.
Enes Kanter's scoring ability and Robert Williams' ability to protect the basket and defend multiple positions. Those guys can play together and be effective. So you have those two bases covered. Drew, I'm gonna turn it over to you because again, that's the squad.
I like Robbie Williams. He's got bounce, and I'm watching him in the summer league. He's he's dunking all over people. But what I like even more than that, shout out to my man Creedon, sent me this video of all the little. He's dropping dimes. He's dropping dimes out there, and for a young center to be making some of the passes that he's making, we're talking cross court. We're talking really tough passes. It's encouraging to see because last year they barely played him. I thought it was kind of because they didn't want teams to really learn his weaknesses and expose too much of his weaknesses, but it's looking like he is NBA ready. I think not playing him that much last year and is good for him now because people don't really know what to expect from him in terms of opponents. He's got bounce and he can rebound. I saw him in the building a few times last year. Absolutely send shots. I'm talking LeBron James in his prime against the backboard blocks, just absolutely mush. He's good, but I love the Enes Kanter thing. We haven't had a rebounder like that in a long time, since maybe I don't know, like Kendrick Perkins was a great. I mean, who have we had that could really rip? We've had Al Horford, and Al Horford's great. He's a decent rebounder, but he's not a. Enes Kanter is a board gobbler. He will get you 12 rebounds a game in not that many minutes. It's great. We need a guy like that. We haven't had rebounding for so long. It's huge. Gordon Hayward, I expect to have a huge bounce back year. I've heard he's been in the gym every single day. They can't get him out of the gym, and that's good. You need a full summer of work to be able to go out. And last year, I think it left a sour taste in a lot of those players' mouths, and the sky's the limit for this Celtics team, especially in the East. I feel great about it.
Blue collar, gritty, hardworking, determined. Yep. And what people are not recognizing is this group is considerably talented. A very talented group in an Eastern Conference. That now again with free agency, we touched on it. Philadelphia 76ers. They're improved. Getting Big Al, that's a big deal. And obviously with Embiid, with Ben Simmons and with Tobias, that's considerable. Milwaukee basically brings everybody back. Brogdon is not there, but again, Brogdon wasn't there for the majority of their playoff run.
That's true.
So but still that's a loss. But it can be replaced. You still have Bledsoe. You got guys like Pat Connaughton coming off the bench. It has to be remembered that Mirotic is an unfortunate loss with him going back overseas to play in Spain. Happy for him,
which is crazy.
But he would have been a great again part of that bench mob. But I did like how they brought Robin Lopez.
The brothers
to partner with his brother Brook Lopez, and Robin Lopez is not going to give you necessarily the offense, or the spacing that a Mirotic would, but at the same time you can play Robin Lopez with his brother because he's a great defender. And he's a worker, he's a rim protector, he's going to compete, fight on defense. And Brook Lopez, who was the first player in NBA history to average 2 blocks and 2 threes, over the course of a season. So what Brook Lopez can do in terms of spacing the floor, and then Robin Lopez does in terms of protecting the basket, those guys can play together. They're obviously going to get, so the chemistry, the continuity, under the great leadership of Coach Bud, they're still going to be in the mix. Indiana Pacers getting Oladipo back and then partnering him with Brogdon, Nate McMillan, outstanding coach, Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis.
They're going to be good, man.
Yeah, the loss of Bogdanovich hurts, and we need to touch on that in terms of the Western Conference, and we're gonna touch on that as well. But still, the Indiana Pacers, talented, gritty, hardworking, and again, if Oladipo would have been there, this entire year, the Celtics certainly wouldn't have swept them in the first round, and they might not have gotten past them, with all of the drama that they had, in and of it, overall, a healthy Indiana team,
Oladipo,
would have definitely made some noise in the playoffs. Brooklyn, obviously, they're a year away. They're going to be a little bit better. Miami, so the East it's like a 3-4 teams, that are going to be competitive. But then I think after that, it's just those other teams are clearly rebuilding and, trying to establish something for the future. Now back to the West, and we touched on it, but we need to get Drew Pops. It's been touched on it previously, but Drew Pops has to weigh in on this. The Western Conference now has, we have some monsters in terms of we know that what Utah has done. Bringing in Mike Conley, who I thought was overpaid, I was wrong. Okay, makes $32 million a year. This man is top 10, number 7, in fact, in player efficiency for point guards. Okay, obviously you have Donovan Mitchell, who's an amazing, emerging all-star at the 2 spot. Joe Ingles, people don't realize.
I love Joe Ingles.
Okay, Southpaw from Australia. Joe Ingles is real.
Yeah, he's a grinder.
Real.
He's gritty.
Okay, people, you look at him, Joe Ingles.
He loves that.
We'll give you 30.
He thrives off that.
He'll give you 30, and Joe, he's not afraid to tell you about it.
No, hell no.
He's not afraid to tell you. So play, when you want to talk that stuff, he's not having that.
Come at me.
He got that Crocodile Dundee swagger.
Yeah,
okay?
he does.
Yeah, and he knows how to back it up.
He's nice.
And then Bogdanovich is another guy.
I'm real high.
3D defensive minded. So those two at the forward spots, and then they got the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Protecting the basket. Their bench was affected in terms of losing Kyle Korver, losing Jay Crowder, and then losing Grayson Allen, who were all, stalwart, just tough guys. Jay Crowder did an outstanding job, and Kyle Korver, and so there's talk about maybe Kyle Korver going to Phoenix, and then we're going to talk about that in terms of the buyout market. But Utah, and then Quinn Snyder's a great coach.
Yeah.
So, all the glitz and the glamour, there's plenty of talent in LA. But the Utah Jazz are certainly going to be a top 4 team, in my opinion. And the other team that we have to remember is the San Antonio Spurs. Didn't make any moves. Didn't need to make any moves, folks. You want to know why? Okay, because their most important player was out every single game last season. That's DeJounte Murray. Okay, 6'7".
That's true.
And you want to talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in terms of these big point guards that are two-way players that can score and put folks on lockdown. That's DeJounte Murray, and he's coming back. Okay, and without DeJounte Murray, San Antonio Spurs, who were a 7 seed last year, took the number 2 seed, Denver Nuggets, to 7 games.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're a couple bounces, 1 possession or 2 possessions in terms of knocking out, a very talented Denver Nuggets team. Okay, without their most important player, but under, the all-time great leadership of one Mr. Greg Popovich. Now, they bring in DeMar Carroll, who's going to definitely help their bench. They have a solid bench. Patty Mills will go back, in terms of leading that bench mob, and doing a great job. I love them picking up Marcus Morris.
Yeah.
If.
The
Knicks now, in terms of the physical with Reggie Bullock.
That's what I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was related to the physical. So now they have freed up some cap space where they can offer Marcus Morris $15 million to go there. And you know something, to me, if I'm Marcus Morris, I'm not necessarily going to New York, because again, I'm a veteran, so I'm competing for championships.
Right. You still got something in the tank.
That to me says something that in terms of, Marcus Morris is a Philly kid, so him being back, in the tri-state area would be a good thing. But if him going to the Knicks all of a sudden out of the blue, a team that's clearly rebuilding for a veteran who wants to compete for a championship, that to me says, maybe there is something that they can get, that you can partner, not necessarily partner, but I wouldn't go to the Knicks if I was him just to play with a bunch of young guys. Maybe he wants to do that. If I'm Marcus Morris and I can get, $10 million a year to play on a play for a championship, which is what the Spurs are going to be doing next year. Okay, believe you me. Okay, Greg Popovich, I don't know how many 51 seasons he has. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that for you. Okay, but the man doesn't know how not to win 50 games.
Yeah.
Irregardless of it, if he has, all-time great players or not. Okay, so the San Antonio Spurs being back healthy and with these additions, yes, folks, they are going to be very much in the mix in the Western Conference. Yes, real quick, I just got to check with my peoples that's in the studio. We might need. Can I get 5? Can I get 5? Possibly. Thank you, because we got a couple things to talk. We appreciate the people in the studio working with us. The NBA free agency has dominated the show, and that's fine. But we got a couple things that we're going to touch on, in conclusion, that we have to get to. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game is tonight. Drew, who do you have?
Well, I'm a Red Sox fan, so I will take...
It's in Cleveland, yes?
I will take the American League.
Indeed, I like that.
But, the All-Star Game is such a toss-up. It doesn't mean... Does it still have to do with the home?
Oh, it does. So the winner's gonna get home field
I like
advantage.
that because it matters. It
Yes.
actually matters. I mean, I'm gonna go with the AL, but it could both. I mean, they're all stacked. So it's like really who shows up that day and who's making the best contact, whatever. Like the home run derby last night, which was insane. It was anybody's game out there, clearly. Yeah, say AL.
I'm going with the AL at also. Like that pick. We need to touch on Justin Verlander, and we'll get into this more in the next episode. Baseball people, feel free to come on the show or chime in. Justin Verlander made a very interesting point talking about the increase in home runs. He made a correlation, didn't realize this myself. Major League Baseball, $4 billion a year business, bought Rawlings, who makes the baseballs. That was a $400 million a year business. So Major League Baseball bought Rawlings. So now Major League Baseball themselves are the ones that produce the baseballs. And then Justin Verlander made this correlation to, Major League Baseball now is the one that's just manufacturing these baseballs. And, we have this incredible spike in home runs. Vladimir Guerrero hits 91 home runs.
It's a bold claim, but I like it.
He hits 91 home runs yesterday in the home run derby. Wouldn't you know? I respect Verlander saying this. Many baseball people have alluded to this in recent years. Why is the spike in this precipitous spike in home runs that's happening, out of nowhere, really? Pitchers are talking about the ball feels different. It's coming off the bat different. This deserves further analysis. We don't have time necessarily on this show because we went crazy on free agency, but I respect Justin Verlander, and we'll get back to this. And listen, Major League Baseball, kind of feeling the pressure of, the 21st century, the millennials, they still have a slower paced game.
Yeah.
And, but still, that doesn't justify this. Okay, Major League Baseball is fine. You're still making, and if there was innovations to the games that you needed to make, this was not one of them, in my opinion.
I mean, I didn't like their response to it. The commissioner, whatever his name is, I don't even remember, but
Yes.
came out and said, "No, I don't think so," or he said something like he wasn't sure. You're the commissioner of the whole league. If anyone knows, it should be you.
Yes.
So, and then he said, "No, we don't." But I don't know. I mean, Verlander, maybe you're getting old. I don't know. That's just a shot to him, just because we got to go against him every year. I think there could be absolute validity to it, but I don't know. I'm sure it'll come out. The truth will come out eventually. So, I mean, if they did that and they didn't tell anyone and denied it, I mean, that's a terrible look for Rob Manfred, I think is his name. That's a terrible look for him and the whole MLB. If they did that through the back door, I mean, who knows? We'll see.
Respect him saying it. We'll touch on that further. We're wrapping up. We have to give a shout out to the United States women's national team capturing the
Bringing it
World
home.
Cup, bringing it outstanding job. They've won back-to-back. This was a dominant performance. I don't think they trailed in any of the games.
No, it's
and we looked
insane.
at this briefly, and then Drew, you were there, so we'll kind of let you but they hadn't won the World Cup from 1999 till 2015. So there's a 16-year gap. And in terms of them winning the championship, and now they've won the last two in a row. So I think that's a positive trend. And this team was dominant. This team was outspoken. They spoke up for what they believe in, which we respect. And they brought up a couple great narratives that we need to look at in terms of equal pay for women, and pay that is respectful and comparable in certain ways to the men, which is another great point in narrative. But they were dominant, and they brought it home in resounding fashion, and it was great, a great thing. And Drew,
yeah, I mean, I like the whole narrative of that is I like that they're trying to make it, it's more than a game. We're trying to make a difference for the future, for forever, and that's a good thing, and it's a better thing when you win, which is great. But you got everyone saying Megan Rapinoe this, Megan Rapinoe that. They don't like how she's. I mean, under the biggest stage, under the biggest scrutiny, she is, goes out and gets it done. In the World Cup final, she slots in a goal that, it was a great goal, well taken. But with all the criticisms and everyone, pretty much hoping that she'll fail, she rose to the occasion. And she's hoisting that trophy still. I'm sure she's still partying, drinking her champagne and wherever she is. But, it was a great performance from all of them. It was fun to watch. It's always great when your team is the one that wins. And it, in resounding fashion, with the 4th of July right around where they won. They beat England 2 days before the 4th of July. She does the tea celebration. I love it. Alex Morgan, Love her. She's number 1 on my list of all time. She's the best. It's the best. It's great. It's good.
No doubt. Folks, that's going to do it. Go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe as you feel the need. I am your host, Cape Cod Kid, artist formerly known as Andre King. We love having, and we're thankful to have Drew Pops in the building.
Always a pleasure.
And we will see you here again the next time.
Yes, we piece of souls do sedate ourselves. Just a number of this pain we feel. Yes, at times we do hate ourselves, but each day we try to retake ourselves. So yes, we piece of souls do sedate ourselves. Just a number of this pain we feel. Yes, at times we do hate ourselves, but each day we try to embrace ourselves. Yeah.